Well, good afternoon. Hey, happy Friday to you. Brad here with the Big Family Homestead. Hope you're having an awesome day. Today, I wanted to come on and chat with you about a video that we made, Christa and I made about a week ago, probably a week and a half ago. And bottom line is, lo and behold, it disappeared. It just vanished from the YouTube the library that was ours. It's now gone, and I don't know why, have no idea why, but I figure it might be a topic that, the tech overlords don't really want you guys talking about. They most certainly don't want me talking about an internet star like Tim Pool, who is waking up. Now, you may say to yourself, Brad, who the heck is this Tim Pool? Well, he's on the thumbnail. Here's the scoop. I gotta start out by saying Tim Pool doesn't know I'm making this video. Tim Pool is somebody who doesn't know I exist. I watch his videos from time to time for political commentary, okay? He's not a Christian from everything I understand. I know he grew up Catholic, but he's not a practicing faith. He doesn't practice his faith as from what I understand. Now, I'm not trying to make excuses for him or anything. I'm trying to give you a background, a just short background, so you can understand what is going on, why I'm even bringing him up. Because politically, he's been red-pilled for a while. Yes, no doubt there. But now they're really getting into preparedness, right? So these guys over there at the Timcast place, they're starting to, it's so fun to watch. And so here it is. I got to give you the background. I'll keep it short. And then we'll go into why I'm making this video at all. Like what value is there here? And that is this. Tim Pool, he would probably describe himself as a libertarian who leaned very liberal in his past. Well, as he started doing his reporting, he's a reporter, went out there into the world and started seeing things that were not exactly the way he thought. Things didn't measure up the way they were touted to be, and he became a libertarian. And now he's more of an even right-leaning libertarian with what he says out of his mouth. Now, I'm saying that based on what he says, not what I think, okay? So, that said, I don't agree with him on every single topic, but boy, oh boy, those people have some insight into what's really going on politically and economically, and they're starting to get into survival mode, preparedness. You might even say that I don't think they would call themselves preppers, but that's what they're doing. That's really funny. They are getting into preparedness. They would say they're not preppers, but man, Roberto the chicken, come on now. Roberto the chicken. They've got Roberto the chicken over there. They're doing chickens. They're starting to get into more and more, frankly, the stuff that used to be common for everybody who lived 20, 30, 40 years ago. It's just now that everybody's starting to wake up. So that, I have to say, is a very good thing. Now, I am watching this chuckling because Christa and I, my wife Christa and I, we have been going about learning survival stuff, preparedness stuff, learning how to grow things, do stuff with your hands, things like welding and building. Like, if you look around in this room, this is my world in the past, okay? I have been in bands, I've owned businesses, robotics stuff. If it's with a computer or in music, media, that's me. Well, about 10, 12 years ago, I woke up one day and I was not expecting this. And I thought to myself, boy, our pantry's only got about 3 days worth of food in it. And well, I don't know how to do anything that's not based in making music, recording music, producing music, robotic, basic tech things like that. And I kind of freaked out a little bit. I didn't know what it was to be a prepper, had no idea. And I just thought, well, I got to get some shelf-stable food now, and a lot of it. Because what if all of a sudden the infrastructure in our country was disrupted to the point of you can't go get it? Then what? Okay? I see some of you guys, by the way, since this is being recorded as a live stream, first of all, thank you for coming. Second of all, please, share the video. It does help the YouTube algorithm. It does get the word out, and it does help the family here. So I am very grateful. That said, I'm seeing some people who are going based, red-pilled. What is that? Red-pilled is basically, a lot of people would, maybe define it slightly different, but the overarching thing is it's a reference taken from the movie The Matrix, Neo, and he's not in the real world, but he thinks he is, and he has to make a choice as to whether he takes the red pill or the blue pill. And if he takes the blue pill, he wakes up in his bed and he doesn't think of anything being different. He doesn't even know about the Matrix. It doesn't exist. But if he takes the red pill, then he gets to see how far down the rabbit hole it is. And he begins to see then the truth behind all of the facade that we live in. So when you say somebody is red-pilled, what that really means is they're waking up to see the puppet masters behind the strings and the puppets and how everything is going together, and they work together behind the scenes. It's basically, you get to see the inner workings. Actually, funny thing, I remember when I was a kid, we grew up in Florida, and every once in a while, rides would break down if you went to Disney. And we went to Disney before Disney became, Psycho Land. And now it's like, don't let anyone near your kid land, because, whoa, things are wacky, right? But every once in a while, the rides would break down. And if you've ever been on a ride like Space Mountain, where it was dark, you go in there, everything's dark, it's dark, 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 and then the roller coaster itself is inside in the dark. Well, every once in a while, the rides will break down, and then you look around, it's like, whoa. You see all the infrastructure, the steel girders, and you look around and you go, well, this isn't really that big of a deal. It's not scary at all. This thing's not even that big. And you start seeing, oh, here's the inner workings. Boy, this was a lot different than I thought. It's kind of like, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Wizard of Oz stuff, right? So, as I am watching this Tim Pool guy come out of his cocoon, waking up over the course of the last decade, watching him go from being pretty liberal, at least socially and politically, to a lot more libertarian, a lot more government, just leave me alone kind of thing, and combine that with their keen intellect. They're smart. The people over there are smart. Although I got to say, if you've ever watched, there's a guy there named Ian, and he's kind of a little challenging to listen to sometimes. I really believe he means well. He's just one of those guys that, bleh, and a lot of the time it's, are you aware that you're actually awake and lucid and you're saying these things out loud? Because they make no sense to real humans. I look at Ian like comedic relief, but they'll bring on big name guests. And by that, I mean literally senators, Congress people. They're not afraid to go on there. Okay. He's had Marjorie Taylor Greene on there. He's had Matt Gaetz on there. They have big people on there. And I think what's happening is a lot of people who are my age and younger, more younger than my age, but they're waking up and going, wait a minute, none of this is as it seems. Somebody turned the lights on, and now we see the infrastructure of this roller coaster in the dark. It's nothing like I thought it was. So, that said, since this is a live broadcast, chime in on your 2 cents with what we're talking about. I'm going to grab comments here in just a little bit. But what I wanted to share was two big things, really two topics. Number one, it is so fun watching these people wake up. It's kind of like they're looking around like I did 12 years ago, and I was looking for what happens if I can't get to the store, and I'm thinking I got to be able to feed my family, right? And I think they had that moment as well at some point where they're sitting there thinking to myself, oh my gosh, we don't know really how to do anything. I mean, he's a skateboarder and a political commentary guy, and he also obviously does reporting. But I think they woke up and they were like, wait a minute, what about food? And so they ended up getting chickens. They got chickens. As a matter of fact, it's really funny because they have a channel for their chickens. Somebody probably can chime in here because I don't know what it is. I know that Roberto is one of his favorite roosters. But nobody tell Brad that we're all younger than him. Roberto. Hey, Roberto. Robert Bates is Roberto. There you go. Poof. But they got chickens, and they've just been enjoying these chickens. And there's a great metaphor that he talks about with chickens and the elites, the governed and the governing. I'll tell you about that here in a second. But it's been fun watching them go, well, look, it's very easy. You get chickens, I feed them, I take care of them, and then I get to eat their eggs. We have eggs every day, right? And it's just like, they're like kids going, wow, isn't this really neato? And I think myself, that's so cool. And now they're talking about, well, we better get a garden. They're talking about, we better get a garden. And now that all this chemical spill that's going on in Ohio, they're not terribly far from that. They're looking at things and going, we don't really have a way to have fresh water. And by accident, they're becoming self-reliant, preparedness-minded people. They're thinking to themselves, what if nobody's coming after that disaster or that EMP or that blah, blah, blah? Isn't that funny that they're waking up to this? And I think to myself, that's awesome. Now, that said, this is a popular dude. He's got over 1 million subscribers on his channel, and I say great. Not that I don't agree with everything he has to say, when it especially comes to morality kind of stuff, but hey, you know what? He's going to have to answer to God for that, and he can talk to God about it, and hopefully one day he settles some things and becomes a believer, but you know what? Okay. That's between him and God. That said, really appreciate a lot of their commentary, really appreciate a lot of their insight. I love the fact that they're not only just kind of a political commentary, but that they also are pushing back in terms of a culture war. And they understand that's exactly where our youth are at. They understand that. And they know that if you don't lean more conservative, there's not probably going to be that great of a future. They get it. I think it's awesome. Now, watching them wake up is great. However, here's the thing. I'm seeing some of the names in this chat, and I know a lot of you because I've watched you on our channel over the last few years, and you make comments, and I can see, and I remember, I know who Gunner is, and I know who Robert is, I know who all these people are, Yarn Prepper, I know who you guys are because of the comments you make. That said, now, how can we help wake up more people? That's the trick. Now, I'm going to go ahead and lay out an argument that a lot of you guys have made to me. Well, my family thinks I'm crazy. They think you're nuts. Why would you ever even consider wasting your time on that? Okay. Well, probably because yesterday is a different day than today. And as people see more and more stuff on the news, more and more people are going, you know what? I just don't believe it. I just don't believe it anymore. Whatever it is that they're spewing, I don't believe it. And they may not know what, to go to. They just know that those are clearly lies. The red pills are getting passed out all over the place, and nobody's even having to convince people of it. They're figuring it out on their own. They're figuring it out on their own, and they're waking up and going, you know what? Whatever it is that those people that are governing us are selling, I don't want it. And I go, yes. So, another thing that people might say is, well, you know, my husband or my wife, and usually it's more wives than husbands for some reason. I don't know why. They push back and they say, well, I don't want to look funny in front of our neighbors or friends. I don't want people coming over and seeing buckets of beans sitting there, or they don't want to accept the fact that unfortunately this country is in a state of decline. They just can't, their minds don't register. I mean, I was that way for a long time. Truth. I was that way a long time. For at least a decade, as an adult, I had it in my mind of this 1950s era United States of America, the shining city on a hill. I mean, remember that? Remember that speech? Remember how we had this idea in our minds of how America was morally superior to everybody? I don't know if I would classify that way anymore. How America was always willing to go out into the world and help and defend those who can't defend themselves. And I thought, if there's a buck in it, we will. And I don't mean us as the governed. I mean the governing. Oh, there's lots of reasons why we're in all kinds of places in the world, isn't there? And it's usually tied to, right? I had that mentality. So I completely get it. I understand it. But what you can do, and this is done different. What happened to the first video you made about Tim? That's why I'm making this video. It just disappeared from the YouTube library. Just was gone. So don't know. That's why I'm doing it again. And normally Christa would be here, but she's picking up daughter from work. So I figured I'm just going to get this done. I want to talk to you guys because it's important. So there's a lot of people that think that, you know, they don't want to be viewed as crazy. They don't want to think that, you know, the United States is not this utopian place that, well, frankly, I believe for a long time, you know? And, you know, here's the thing. What has changed in terms of the way that people who are in power treat the people who are not in power for all of recorded history? What has changed? Because the way I see it, if you go back to Roman times, the Roman hierarchy, leadership, military, they had their life and then everybody else had their life, right? It was not the same thing, was it? Right? So, if the people who are on top, so to speak, want to stay on top, they will do things to keep themselves on top and you not on top, right? I mean, look throughout history. I'm not making anything up. Repost the old video. I missed it. Says M Hammer. I cannot because we did it live. That's why it's just gone. So, if you think about it, what's different from our leadership today than, say, Roman leadership? Mesopotamian leadership. Ooh, here's a fun one. How about Aztec or Mayan leadership? Oh, yeah. They were really kind to their people by the tune of 100,000 a day. Look it up. I can't say it or else this video will disappear. They did interesting things to living people who didn't stay that way long. Lots and lots of people. But they were the leadership and we are the peons. So think about it like this. If you think that there's not a big push to return to lords, leadership, kings, governors, they're there, and then you have serfs, that's us, 85% of the population or more. If you think that's not a thing, try not paying your property taxes for a while and see what happens. You could say, hey, I am, what are those things they call them? The people that say they're sovereign citizen. I'm a sovereign citizen. And you know what? You may be right, but you know what's going to happen? They'll still take your house. Because you know what? Power comes from somewhere. What was that they said? The end of I can't think of it. Something. Power. That's how it works. Those who have it are not going to give it up easily. And those who get it usually by force. Right? So all of that to say, what can we really do? You and me, the Danelle and Cretans whenever possible, M. Hammer, Selena, Hazel, all of us. What can we do about that? And the answer is largely not much. Except in your own community, your own family, your own area. Local is where it's at, people. Local is exactly how we're going to get out of this mess. Because the reality is, Mr. Biden is not accepting my calls right now. He's not even in the country. If I call him up, if I pick up the phone and say, hey, man, I don't think that this is a good idea to be spending so much money on stuff that doesn't even concern us and is not even a NATO nation. I don't think that's a good idea. How about we, send some of that money to the people in Ohio who are having, poison poured and burned and flooding into their community? Why don't we do that? Can we just take maybe, I don't know, a couple billion? I mean, you're sending it over there. Can't we just take a few billion? Come on. Give everybody, like $1 million or something, 2 million. They're going to have to uproot their lives. But he's not taking my calls. And he's not taking your calls. And so here's the thing. We have got to build community. You've got to learn where your food comes from. You've got to store some food up. You've got to learn how to do stuff. It was uncomfortable for us, for me. One of the very first things that I learned to do, ladies out there probably might be more affected by this than the men. When I first went and I was waking up and I was realizing the system was not like I thought it was. I red-pilled myself. When I realized it, you know what happened? I went to Christa. I said, hey, honey, I think I want to get honeybees. I've been thinking about it. I want to get honeybees. And she laughed out loud and said, you're insane. Because this is me. I do guitars and computers. Right? Why do you want to do honeybees? You're insane. But when you start waking up, those things just seem logical. How are we going to eat if there is no food going to a grocery store because there was some kind of a power outage, say half the country, quarter of the country, whatever. Now the food doesn't get trucked because they can't pump gas out of the ground, diesel out of the ground, which is where they keep it, gas stations, truck stops. If there's no electricity, they can't pump it. Trucks don't move. That said, local, guys, local is where it's at. Now, as we're hanging out here, here's a question for you guys. What are your favorite channels for preparedness to watch? You guys, type them in there. Even if it's yourself. You could be a shameless plug city right now. Done Different. If you got a channel, tell everybody, I watch Done Different. Or if Gunner says, you know what, who I like watching Wrangler Star. Put in the Wrangler Star. If you say Bear Independent, I'll say I watch Bear Independent too. And I will. And I do. Shameless plug city. Go for it. The next 30 seconds, do it. Done Different watches pinball. I'd actually like to have a real pinball machine. That'd be cool. Like a real one, not one of those digital ones. But what I wanted to say is start working on your local infrastructure, guys. Don't wait around until there is some horrible thing that happens. And now I've got to figure out who my neighbors are. I don't even know their names. What? Think about that. Do you think that the people of East Palestine right now are thinking, we don't need any, local assistance. We don't need any of that. Are you really? Of course they do. That said, we're going to have to work harder at building community locally, guys. And I'm not joking around. I watched some videos on what it would be like to have actual, I don't even like saying it, nuclear war. It would be devastating to the planet. It would be devastating to, it's almost unfathomable to think. But what's crazier is that a lot of people would live through the initial blasts if any 1, 2, 5 detonations happen here. I can't even imagine. It'd probably be worse on the other side trying to live through it. I mean, think about it. Ground is tainted, water's tainted, clothes are tainted. Even if you survive, it's almost too horrible to think. But we got to take a deep breath and realize we're not ostriches. We don't have our heads in the sand. We have to look with steely-eyed gaze at what would we do if we lived. How are we going to provide for our families? Friends? How are you going to continue on? Now, I would not be very honest and forthright with you unless I said this last little bit, okay? Number one, I got some free music for you. I write music, I record music, I sing music, and I wrote some music that is completely 100% free. I want you to go get it. See if you like it, whatever. There's no strings attached, 0 strings. Go to bigfamilyhomestead.com and then /shop. And you can go in there and I think there's like 14 songs that are free. And it's scripture. It's straight up, it's modern sounding music, but it's scripture. It's 100%. I didn't write any of the lyrics. God did. That's it. I wrote the music and sung it, but go get them. Spread them. Put them on your page. The only thing I ask is just don't make money off of it. Or if you do, send it to hungry people. Okay? Whatever. I don't want a penny for it. I want you to get it and spread it. bigfamilyhomestead.com /shop. Second thing is preparedness is great and well and fine and dandy, but if you don't have a relationship with God, you're just taking another breath and delaying the inevitable. So I would challenge you. Maybe take a few moments and pray and ask God, okay, what do you want me to do? If you're real, I want to know. You need to have a relationship with Christ. And here's something that's so important, guys. I'm not talking about church at all. I'm talking about a relationship with God. I'm talking about He is indwelling in you, and you've received him, and you've accepted him, and you know that he is 100% got your back. He's paid for your sins. That's relationship. That's not putting your butt in a church pew for 100 years and thinking that's going to get you a ticket in, because that won't. And I'm saying this out of love. Trust me. I spent many years thinking differently. But you got to have a relationship with Christ. And if you don't, you're just taking another breath that's just delaying the inevitable. All right, folks. Here's one of those free songs right now. I'm going to play it for you. Go on over, grab it, and have a blessed weekend. Bye.
Trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion, which cannot be moved, but abides forever. For the scepter of wickedness shall not rest on the land allotted to the righteous, lest the righteous stretch out their hands to do wrong. As the mountains surround Jerusalem, so the Lord surrounds his people from this time forth and forevermore. Do good, O Lord, to those who are good, and to those who are upright in their hearts. But those who turn aside to their crooked ways, the Lord will lead away with evildoers. Peace be upon Israel. For the scepter of wickedness shall not rest on the land allotted to the righteous, lest the righteous stretch out their hands to do wrong.